What were you eating like before? 40, let's say, and then you went to the nutritionist and he gave you advice, and then you were eating like this after.
Lots of fast food because I had 3 children, teenagers at the time. I was working on my master's. I'm a teacher, and so I was working on my master's, working during the day, going to college in the evening, trying to run with them. So it's so much easier to go through the drive-through line to pick up some food. And the doctor told me, he said, if you leave the fast food alone, you drop about 20 pounds. It was also on blood pressure medicine. I forgot to let you know that. He said you could probably come off the blood pressure medicine. And so having to change the way that I ate, eating more whole foods, not fast food, reducing the sugar, reducing the sodium, working on the stress, those kinds of things. That's what helped to change that.
I'm not afraid to write a brand new story. And when changes find their way to me, I can keep it moving. I'm not afraid to celebrate my glory. And when challenges grace my path, I know I can face another day. Inside, I rise, daring to learn. With Fox After 40.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Fox After 40, where we focus on women's wellness from head to toe. And today we're talking about how to eat well to achieve immortality. Just kidding, but how to look good by eating well. And today we have one of our CurlMixers here, Miss Kathy Combs, who is a specialist in nutrition and looks amazing and has lost over 60 pounds in her lifetime. So I cannot wait to get into what she has to say about how to eat better. Miss Kathy, can you please, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
And do you mind sharing your age with people? Because it's the only reason I ask, you can give me a range, but the only reason I ask is because Fox After 40 was really built for CurlMixers. Mm-hmm. It was built for my Facebook group of women who are in their 50s and 60s and 70s, and they are getting together and connecting, and your hair looks amazing, your body looks amazing, you look beautiful. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask your age so people could know, I can do that too. You know what I mean?
Well, Kim, I have no problem sharing my age. I am currently 59 years old, and if I'm blessed to see June 24th, I will be the big 60.
Ooh, I love that for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're making me want to be 60. Okay, so I love that.
Well, take your time, honey. Take your time. It's coming.
I love that. So, Ms. Kathy, can you tell us your background, how you got here, and how you got into nutrition?
Well, I am a person that loves sugar. Love it. But I found out as I aged that sugar did not love me. As a little girl, I can remember going into the kitchen cabinet, getting my mama's big bag of Dixie Crystal with a teaspoon and eating the sugar out of the bag.
Oh, wow.
As I aged, got married, had children, weight began to come on, and later years went to the doctor just for a regular checkup and found out that I was pre-diabetic. And upset, trying to figure out how in the world am I pre-diabetic? But then, when you begin to think back, I remember going into that kitchen cabinet, eating that sugar. I remember overindulging in the cookies and the donuts and the cakes and the pies and just eating, overeating. And I also remember my dad, who was diabetic, on dialysis, and having a lot of health issues. And I remember taking him one day for his dialysis treatment. And he said, baby, I hope you don't ever get in this fix. Mm-hmm. And then when I received that phone call to say that I was pre-diabetic, I remembered the promise that I made to my dad. And so I knew then that I had to change what I was doing. So.
And how old were you about this time?
Yeah, I was in my late 40s at that time.
Okay. And how much did you weigh, if you don't mind sharing?
When I got to my heaviest, I was 199 pounds. Okay. So at the time of his passing, I was around 199.
Gotcha.
And so that would be a combination of not eating correctly, not exercising, work, stress, all those kinds of things. Had 3 children. Now, at the time when I got married, I had lost weight over a period of years, dropping down to 135. And I attribute that weight loss to marching band. So when I was in high school, I got into marching band. So I marched those little, what they call it, little teenage pounds away. And so went on through college. And when I got married, I was 135 pounds. And so here I am close to 37 years later, and I'm a little less than 135.
Wonderful.
So exercising and eating right has gotten me here. Now, in terms of how I got to being interested in actual nutrition itself, I became a member of Toastmasters, and Toastmasters is a speaking club, and you compete. I won on my local level. I won on my district level. I went on to compete on the state level, but I didn't win. So I was trying to figure out, what can I do that would just be that wow factor? And wherein I did a speech called Before and After. So I would show a picture of myself at my heaviest weight. I came out on stage, had on a covering. And so I would go through the speech and I would tell about my experiences with food, and then I would throw this cape off with this form-fitting dress. And so they would see my before and my after. So my thought was, what if next time I throw the cape off, I can show them a six-pack? So that's how I came to train with a coach, with the intention to show the six-pack. Well, we're still working on the six-pack. So it's still hiding. It's in there somewhere. But
yes, it's in there. You're looking good, okay? You can wear the bikini. You ain't got to get the six-pack.
But that was how I got into doing more research with nutrition and physical fitness through that avenue.
Gotcha. So did you sit down and meet with the nutritionist, and then you were like, hey, I want to learn this, I want to become one? Like, what did that look like?
Well, the actual nutritionist came when they told me I was pre-diabetic. And my doctor told me, she said, I'm going to set you up with the nutritionist. I want you to lose 20 pounds. And I followed what that man told me to a T. And he told me, he said, you are the first. And I was shocked. He said, the first client that I've had that listened to me and did what they were supposed to do and came out of the pre-diabetic state.
Wow. How long did that take you to come out of the pre-diabetic state?
It was a couple of years. It wasn't an overnight thing. Having to change the way that I ate, having to exercise, those kinds of things. So it took a while because my A1C was, if I'm not mistaken at that time, an A1C is how your blood sugar will go. They check it over a certain amount of months. But mine at that time, I think it was about 6.3, something like that. And if I'm not mistaken, I think 6.4 was considered to be diabetic. So I was right there knocking on the door. And so working with him, I got it back down to 5.6. They don't want it to be 5.7.
Gotcha.
So,
okay, wonderful.
But then that also depends on the person. So now a person that's full-blown diabetic, 5.7 is good for them.
Gotcha.
But if you're not diabetic, you don't want to get up to that point.
Gotcha. So you want to stay in what's the range you want to stay in before you're pre-diabetic?
Anything under 5.7.
Anything under, okay, wonderful. Now, what changed? What were you eating like before? 40, let's say, and then you went to the nutritionist and he gave you advice, and then you were eating like this after.
Lots of fast food because I had 3 children, teenagers at the time. I was working on my master's. I'm a teacher, and so I was working on my master's, working during the day, going to college in the evening, trying to run with them. So it's so much easier to go through the drive-through line to pick up some food. And the doctor told me, he said, if you leave the fast food alone, you drop about 20 pounds. It was also on blood pressure medicine. I forgot to let you know that. He said you could probably come off the blood pressure medicine. And so having to change the way that I ate, eating more whole foods, not fast food, reducing the sugar, reducing the sodium, working on the stress, those kinds of things. That's what helped to change that.
If you've enjoyed this episode of Fox After 40 and want to get notified about the next episode when it drops, make sure to go to CurlMix.com and sign up for our mailing list. We'll notify you whenever a new episode comes out. What does your diet look like today? Walk me through breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What are you eating?
Now, my diet today is going to look different from the typical diet because I am working on competing.
Okay.
For but either bikini or figure competition.
Okay, well, but let's say you weren't in competition.
Okay.
Let's say you weren't. And the reason I say this is because I just learned that in competitions, that's like more of a sport.
That is a sport.
And I didn't know that until we had someone else yesterday on the podcast, or you guys will probably know this is weeks ago, but Miss Diana Moore, she did participate in some competitions, and she's like, that's a sport. You wouldn't go to a track meet and think, can I run as fast as a track athlete? And I was like, oh, of course, because, you can't compare.
Right.
So because you look so great and you're in a sport, give me your non-competition diet, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I will give you what the nutritionist gave me back when I was trying to come out of pre-diabetes. I wanted to make sure that I included protein in each meal. And I was eating like every 2.5 to 3 hours. So having regular food, smaller meals. So in the morning, I may have like some oatmeal and maybe a boiled egg. Mm-hmm. And then maybe about 3 hours later, maybe about
And no sugar in this oatmeal?
Oh, no. I don't do the sugar.
So just plain oatmeal?
Oatmeal with, now you can sweeten it with berries.
Okay.
So berries. So I would add berries to it, but not any brown sugar or honey or those kinds of things. So the first meal of the day would be, as I said, the oatmeal, and yes, maybe some berries and maybe a boiled egg. The next meal may be about 4 ounces of chicken, maybe some rice, and a vegetable. Could be broccoli, string beans, something like that.
And we're not talking fried chicken.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No fried chicken, okay? Grilled, broiled, baked.
Can we do, is it white meat, dark meat? Does it matter?
That's going to depend on what your goals are. You can do the dark meat, but I would just say make sure you're not doing fried.
Okay.
So for your typical person, eat the meat that you want, but not fried.
Okay.
Stay away from the fried foods. If you are working on reducing your fat, naturally your white meat is going to be the better choice because it's less fat in that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So we got the berry oatmeal with no sugar, and what was the other thing that you said you had for breakfast?
Maybe a boiled
egg. Yeah. So we got protein in almost each meal. Then we got the chicken, maybe some chicken breast or dark meat, depending on your goal, with some veggies for in the next 3 hours.
And may I also say skinless. So that's where your fat and your cholesterol is going to come from. So get rid of the skin. And I know a lot of people want that crunch of that skin.
Man.
I know. But you want to love what's going to love you back.
Right. We're going for immortality over here.
That's right. And so then maybe in that third meal, about 3 hours later, if you want to do maybe some fruit and maybe a nut butter of some sort. And then for the fourth meal of the day, maybe a lean meat of your choice. And then if you do want a fatty type meat, maybe like grilled salmon, sweet potato, and then a green vegetable. And what I was also told is you want to make sure that when you fix your plate, half of your plate is going to be like green leafy vegetables. 1/4 of the plate is going to be your protein, and then 1/4 of the plate is going to be your carb. And so you want to make sure that that carb is going to be one that is not going to raise your glycemic, really high. Mm-hmm. So the nutritionist told me, he said, if you're going to do your carbs, let it be things like sweet potato, whole grains. Make sure if you're doing bread, it's 100% whole grain and not your highly processed breads or highly processed pastas and things like that. So I would have some kickback in the family when I would make the spaghetti and whatnot, and I stopped using the white noodles and did the whole wheat and whole grain noodles. This just doesn't taste right. But I had to do what I needed to do, and I had gotten to the point that I was not going to cook 2 different meals. So whatever I cooked, you ate it or you found you something else.
I love that for you. Yeah. There are women out there who are like, I got to cook what the family wants. I got to cook what I need. And it's like, everybody need to eat right. Look,
well, see, I lived that. When they were smaller, one like cream potatoes, one like French fries, one like baked potato. And I tried that one time, trying to please everybody. And then somebody still wasn't satisfied. I said, never, ever again. You'll eat what I cook or you'll find you something else, okay?
I love that. So I have another question, more so around metabolism. How did you notice, and did it change for you? And around what age did it change for you? And what did you notice happening to your body as your metabolism changed?
Well, I noticed that I began to get a little thicker in my waistline and just started to feel a little sluggish, things just kind of slowing down. And that, for me, I would say happened maybe like in my early 40s and just beginning to get a little puffier. And I just knew that at some point I was going to have to make a change. And it had a lot to do with the sugar and those kinds of things, and exercising more. Now, in my younger days, I would buy all the exercise videos, and I would sit there and watch them. And there would be times I'd be eating a bowl of ice cream, watching the video, just to, kind of get an idea of what they were doing. And the lady would say, "Oh, you're doing good, you're doing good." And I'm like, "Yep, I'm killing this ice cream, I'm doing it." But there was a time when I got sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. And I knew it was time to make a change. And that was now my father passed away in 2010. And it was December 31st of 2011 when I fully made up my mind, okay, we got to do something different. And that's when I really, really began to kick in and make a change.
I'm so sorry that happened to you, but I'm love that you were able to change your life and really turn things around for your nutrition and your body. Now, how do you feel? Now, you are on Instagram, right? I see you making, doing all the hair videos and the weight videos. I see you lifting weights and working out. And you've seen these juice cleanses and these, different food trends. So I have a few items I want to ask your opinion about. Okay. The first being juice cleanses, where people are doing, 2 weeks of straight juice, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It might be fruit juice, that they've pressed on their own. What are your thoughts about this?
My thoughts are I like to chew my food.
Okay.
Now, I have done smoothies and things like that, and I am not against that for anyone that wants to try that as a jump start or as maybe a replacement for a meal. But me personally, I don't want to just do juices.
Yeah.
Because I think you may run into a risk of not getting all of the nutrients that you need. But I like chewing my food.
So, and probably missing out on the protein, right?
Exactly.
That you need to be getting. And
there
that's
are things that you can add, like the chia seeds and things of that nature. But you have to be very careful. I just think that people need to make sure that you're incorporating all of the necessary nutrients. And when you want to just go with a strict one way is the only way kind of thing, you may miss out on some things that you need.
How important is protein to women over 40?
Well, protein is very important because you need that to help hold on to the muscle that you have, because we begin to lose muscle as we age. And that's one thing that I'm dealing with right now. Initially, my goal was to compete in May of this year. Mm-hmm. And so I have to do check-ins each week. And so my coach is like, well, now, we got to build some glutes and work on those hamstrings and those kinds of things. So it's going to take me a little longer. And I need to make sure that I'm getting my protein in, getting my workouts in. And so protein is very important because as we age, we lose muscle. So in order to hold on to that, we got to have the protein.
And how much protein do you think we should be eating a day as far as grams go?
I would say at least about 35 grams or more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. I know I've been giving
just making sure that you're including some protein in each meal. And a good way to judge is the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
So you want it about the size of the palm of your hand, and you want to make sure, if it's meat, you want to make sure that it's lean protein.
Oh, I love that. And just for all of our listeners, it depends also on your body weight too.
Right.
Because so I'm a bit thicker, people may not tell, but I'm 215, but I got a lot of muscle. And so I've been given the recommendation I need about 100 grams of protein.
Yeah. It's going to depend on your body. Thank you for that.
No worries.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure people knew that. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now all my CurlMixers, right? They've been asking to go out to a party together. I was like, hey, we want to go to a sip and paint, or we want to do a wine tasting, or we want to go to Napa Valley. Kim, can you guys coordinate this trip? And we love our wine. Okay. Now, I would love to know, do you drink?
Actually, I don't. Not on a regular.
Okay.
Now, if I go to a party, I might taste a little something, but on a regular, I don't drink.
And did you drink when you were younger?
Back in college days, I tested things. Let me put it this way. When I was a young girl, we would get the Ebony and the Essence magazine, and a pina colada and a daiquiri would be on the magazine. And that was the only drink that I ever thought that I wanted to try. In my freshman year in college, I had my indulge of the strawberry daiquiri. Thanks to
Okay.
Ebony and Essence. But just on a regular note, maybe a glass of wine here and there, but not enough to say that I'm a drinker.
If you've gotten any value from listening to Fox After 40, you learned a beauty tip, you've gotten advice, you've shared the episode with a friend, please do us a favor and leave us a review on Spotify and Apple. It goes a very long way in helping us continue to build the podcast. Do you tell your clients, or I don't know if you have clients who come to you for nutrition and coaching and things like that, but what do you tell people about alcohol and how to consume it when it comes to their diet?
You want to make sure that you don't overdo it. A glass of wine here and there, I would think is okay, in that they say that that's good for your heart. But as we age, we do want to be careful because we don't want to run the risk of dehydration. So as we age, making sure that we're getting enough water and those kinds of things in, alcohol can have a tendency to help run the risk of dehydration. So just make sure that if you are going to drink, that you're making sure you're getting your water in.
And so what's going to happen if, I'm over 40 and I'm dehydrated? What's happening to my body there?
Well, when you dehydrate, that can affect organs and lots of different things. So you've got to make sure that you're getting that water in. It can affect your mood. It can affect your weight. It can affect your sleep. So you've got to get water in no matter what age you are, making sure you get the water. I've been told to do at least half your body weight in water. With me in prepping for competition, I'm trying to get a gallon or more a day. And the earlier in the day I start, it's easier to do. But making sure you get that water in is going to help.
That's so good. And I love that you said, so I have a rule I live by when it comes to protein, but I think I'm going to add a rule for water. My rule for protein is, especially while I'm trying to put on muscle, 100 grams by noon. It sounds crazy. Okay. But that's what you're supposed to have for the day, right? That's because I've also been trying to put on muscle. So people have been like, you need like 150 grams. I'm like, my goodness, it's a lot. And of course I'm adding water to that, but I'm not tracking the water. So if you're saying like, if you're going to do a gallon, you're giving yourself, I need to have 64 ounces by lunch because you never know what the day is going to bring.
That's right.
So that's a good rule of thumb. I like that.
And one thing that I do to kind of help me, I have this really big bottle. And I take it with me to work every day, so they see me coming in dragging this big jug, and people watch you too. Because one day I was leaving and I didn't get enough in, and she was like, "Oh, you didn't get your water in today."
And you should have like, "Well, why did you drink?" Because she ain't drink none.
And I said, "No." I said, "I have to catch up." So I hope to have it done, or at least close to being done by 7:00. Because the closer you get to bedtime, you know where you'll be during the night.
I love that. And for me, when I don't have enough water, I get headaches in the middle of the day.
Definitely.
I'll be like, why is my head hurting so bad? There's a searing pain in my forehead. I'm like, oh, I haven't had water or caffeine.
That's right.
Which brings me to my next question. How do you feel about caffeine? How much should we be consuming? What are we doing? How do the habits change, or how should they change?
I think that should change as well, because that can also cause for dehydration. I've never been a big coffee drinker, but I've been a chocolate person. And I have realized, didn't know it before, but I think chocolate increases the hot sweats. I hadn't really thought about that until prior to me competing, because my first competition was at the age of 53. So I did my first bikini competition at the age of 53. And during my prep, I could not have any chocolate at all. And so then after that, I started kind of beginning to eat the chocolate again. And the hot sweat started coming back. And I'm like, what in the world? And then I stopped this time during prep. I hope my coach isn't watching, but recently I ate some chocolate again and I just started sweating. And I'm like, what in the world? So I said, well, there must be something to it. So the caffeine in the chocolate, I think, can attribute to that. So for the women that may be, experiencing the sweats, maybe they could look at the caffeine that they're consuming, because that could play a part in it as well.
Wow.
So I've never been a big coffee drinker, but I have been a chocolate girl, dark chocolate. Love it. But
that
I've
is
noticed,
so good, Kathy.
I've noticed it that once I started eating it again, I started having the night sweats.
So this could be, if you're a coffee drinker, and you're drinking a cup a day, or, even some black tea or whatever, that may be contributing. And this is specifically people who are dealing with menopause, right? Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And or on the tail end of it or whatever. Wow, that is so enlightening.
It's something to think about. So for those that are experiencing the night sweats, and honey, when I eat the chocolate, it doesn't have to be at night. It can be in the middle of the day. But just pay attention to what you're eating and see if you pull back on it and see the things change, and then you'll know that may have contributed to it or not.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, I have another question around recreational drugs. Okay, you talk about nutrition. Edibles, people like to indulge, fun has no limit, okay, when it comes to age, right? You can have fun at 20, you can have fun at 80, it doesn't matter. How do you feel about that?
Well, now, recreational drugs have never been in my repertoire. So I can't really speak to that. When I was getting ready to go off to college, my mom told me, she said, now you don't have to try everything because you might like it. And at the time, I did not understand. My thought was, well, if I like it, what is the problem? But once I got there and I saw some of the things that some of the people were doing, I was like, oh, okay, so that's what Mama was talking about. So I cannot speak to the recreational drugs. I would just say, have you some good, clean fun. How about that?
Okay. And then finally, I want to talk about gut health. Is that something you've ever kind of focused on? Like, I know you're putting good things into your body, but I know gut health is a big conversation right now. Is there anything that we should be thinking about when it comes to our gut and how it connects to our minds and what we should be eating to feed our gut?
What I would suggest as far as your gut health is just making sure that you are eating whole foods. Whole foods, if you care to do like maybe some fermented type foods, but making sure you're eating whole foods, reducing the sugars, the high sodium kinds of things, but making sure that you're eating whole foods, whole vegetables, fruits, things that are going to give you the fiber that you need to just make sure. Put it this way, if you're eating what God made, okay, and not what man made, that is probably going to help you in your gut more so.
I love that. I love that. That was one of the reasons I wanted to get weight loss surgery. I've gotten up to, so you said you gained 60 pounds, right? You went from 130 something to 190 something. I went from, when I got married, I was around 180 something, 190. After having babies, I got up to 250. So I gained about 60 pounds too. So my 215, I'm excited about it because, I'm like, it looks good to me. But I didn't get the weight loss surgery because I heard that by cutting your stomach in half, and removing it and reducing it is, it changes your gut health because it's in your gut tells your brain what to think. Basically, it does all the signals and the triggers and the everything. And so, I would find that a lot of people still end up being depressed before and after the surgery because your gut health has changed and you've become a different person. And I was like, I didn't know how important it was to make sure you're feeding your gut the right thing so that your mind can be clear, so that you can be a happy person. So I ended up not doing it. I ended up saying, okay, let me put the same money I would have put into surgery, into eating well, into hiring a trainer, into losing the weight. So everything you're saying is like spot on.
Yes, I really, which I'm not knocking it for anyone that does it, but I really believe that in order to be healthy and to get to the weight that you want, it has to be a lifestyle change. And so even if you have the surgery and you haven't worked on whatever it is that caused you to get to that place, then you would still have some issues, I would think. So working to have a lifestyle change is the better way to go, in my opinion.
And I love that when you started eating healthy, I'm sure there are folks in your life around you that got healthier too. Kids, partners, same for me. I know that my Miss Cook, my best friend's mom, she ended up losing 50 pounds. And then now her husband's into it. Now he's going to the gym with her. Now our daughter's going to the gym with her. And it's like, we are the catalyst for so many people in our family to get healthy. So I just want to encourage you guys on your journey to keep going with your nutrition and don't give up. It's so important, and it will change everyone around you as well as yourself for the better. Miss Kathy, is there anything you want to leave the people with?
I would just like to say, as I was saying before, make it a lifestyle change. Make sure that you are reducing the refined sugars, reduce the sodium in your diet. Make sure that you exercise. Get some exercise every day. my nutritionist told me, said one of the best things that people can do is walk for at least 20 minutes after every meal. Now, I know depending on your work schedule, that might not be feasible, but if you can't walk for 20 minutes after the meal, make sure you get those minutes in sometime throughout the day, and then definitely incorporate strength training. A lot of times women feel that, oh, if I lift weights, I'm going to look like a man. I don't think I look like a man.
No, not at all.
And I can name plenty of women that are my age and older that are awesome, have beautiful bodies because they have incorporated strength training. So eat the correct foods, get your exercise in, and drink that water.
Thank you so much, Miss Kathy. This has been an incredible episode. I hope you guys learned something about how to eat better for immortality. And I'll see you guys on the next episode. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And let us know if you have any questions for Miss Kathy in the comments. We'll make sure to reply, and maybe we'll bring her back to give you guys advice on your nutrition. All right, I'll see you guys later, and have a great week.